How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Living Legends podcast, a sort of weekly Flesh and Blood podcast where we talk about all aspects of the Flesh and Blood trading card game. My name is Kel, also known as Red Zone Rogue, and today I am joined by Az from Go Again Gaming and Bill from the Spike Feeders, my partners in crime, I guess you could say. How are you two gentlemen doing this week?
You want us to go first then?
You go first. You're alphabetical at least.
Yeah,
that is true.
That's why my mum called me Aaron, because it was the first name in the book.
You
got two A's. Who's gonna beat that?
A
exactly. Yeah,
exactly. Aaron.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm all good. A little bit annoyed. Obviously, everything got delayed, and I couldn't, join in the fun with everybody who got the product. But it will all be here for release day, and we'll all be doing that again here locally. So just can't wait to do it, and can't wait to hear about everyone's experiences playing Uprising, because it seems like a fantastic set, and I can't wait to get into it really.
Mm-hmm. I've seen that sort of general feeling a lot on Twitter.
Yeah.
People having that the FOMO, seeing all the people post their sick pulls and stuff, but
we're also close knit, aren't we? That we can live vicariously through others. But that's why the community is so good, because everyone's enjoying it together anyway. So it's great seeing everyone else doing it and enjoying themselves. So
absolutely, and I mean this set has made that very, very easy. I think everybody who has gotten a chance to actually get their hands on the set for pre-releases and stuff. I know there's. Obviously, it's affected. I think the remaining 2/3, right? Was the US actually all that affected, Kel? Because you did do pre-release stuff, but
so
I remember hearing some places were just not getting their allocation at all.
So it is to some extent. I know some stores had their pre-releases in the US. Some stores had their pre-releases delayed. I heard one of my someone on Twitter. Posted in response to me asking, I was like, hey, who's going to the pre-release? And they were like, oh, ours got delayed until Wednesday, the following Wednesday at the earliest, which is a little rough, especially for people who, allocated time specifically to, attend the pre-release, people with families and that kind of stuff. So it makes it a little tricky. And then the overall Uprising set was delayed an entire week in the United States. So even if stores got it, they're asked to not, sell the product until July 1st. So just pushed it back a week. So it's not...
Right, yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, it's not too bad, but it's still kind of a bummer, As I don't know exactly how far it got delayed in the UK. How is it, like a week, or is it a little bit further than that?
So it's a weird one, because a few stores have actually got it, not local to me. A lot of the ones local to me just didn't get it. Some of the flagship stores that have been in articles on LSS's website and what have you, and the people that hosted the UK Nationals, their shop got it, but a lot of the other allocations were missed. So it's a bit of a annoying situation. But again, it looks like it's affected everybody in some shape or form. So it's just have to be patient, and we'll get around to it eventually.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully sooner rather than later. And we've already started talking about Uprising today. We're going to talk about a lot of Uprising in this episode of the Living Legends podcast. I'm the host for today, and I'm going to kick it off talking about the world premiere event and the Las Vegas calling that happened at the time of this recording is about a week or so ago. It was like last weekend, I believe. Which it feels a lot further away than that. It doesn't feel as close. But I was able to go and attend. It was an event that did not have coverage. So if you don't know, I normally do coverage for a lot of the events here in the United States, like at the calling level. I did coverage at the Nationals and the Pro Tour here. And for this calling, they didn't have coverage at all. So it was a great opportunity for me to just play in the event. And it was a ton of fun. Yeah. It was a team blitz calling. So fairly unique for Flesh and Blood. I think this is the first major team event. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, please. There might have been like another one. It's like a long time ago, but
there's definitely going to be more, isn't there?
Yeah, I think the reception is pretty unanimous that it is like a baller event. It was so much fun. Like just having that team dynamic, the camaraderie. Personally, my team consisted of me, a really good friend of mine, Steven, also known as DM Armada, and then our good buddy Jim from FAB TCG Cards. And we played Lexi, Kano, and Dash respectively. So, quite the meta team. I won't regale you too much, but I'll kind of do a quick overview of the team event. It was a ton of fun. I absolutely loved it. We did pretty well. We actually ran pretty hot the first couple games. And then we got matched with Tyler Horsepool's team. And if you don't know who Tyler Horsepool is, he is the Las Vegas calling champion, and he's placed very highly in many other events. So this is when I say Las Vegas calling champion, the previous Las Vegas calling.
The chain killer.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the Tyler Horsepool getting matched up against him is basically just getting matched up against the FAB equivalent of the Grim Reapers. Like you're done.
Oh, just wait. So we matched up against him, and so that was one of our losses. And then immediately after, we got matched up against Tarek Patel's team. So from Tyler Horsepool to Tarek Patel, and Tarek Patel's team, it was Tarek, Saint from Fabled Hunters, and Rob Seigel. So pretty stacked team. Great guys. But I don't want to say this for all the guys. Tyler Horsepool and his team, and Tarek Patel's team, absolutely fantastic guys. Just awesome to chat with them, and it was just great to hang out a little bit after we played. Needless to say, we did not fare too well against those two teams. I'll be honest, like I didn't practice a lot. I'm pretty sure, like Tarek Patel and Rob Seigel and Saint, like I'm pretty sure they practiced a lot, like a lot. Oh, yeah. So
I'm pretty sure I saw on Twitter they were talking about how like they were just doing reps, like they were ready for it.
And I'm like, I guess I'll play Lexi because I'm more familiar with Lexi. That's my thing. I was like, yeah, I'll play Lexi.
No fuse Lexi as well, was it?
Yeah, so
you did a deck tech on.
It was a off meta deck, and it performed pretty well. To be honest, I teched it specifically against Oldham, because I was situated in the B spot, so in the middle position, and a lot of folks anticipated Oldham to also be in the middle position, and I won all my Oldham matchups, which was great. I lost all of my Kano matchups, and I just got absolutely freaking nuked. Kano, I think, is one of my hardest matchups. I don't run a lot of blues in the deck, and also so like round one, we ended up winning as a team, but I lost my game, and to a Kano who killed me on turn one. So that's how my Kano matches were for the weekend. Turn one kill, and then I got I think it was a turn two kill, in response to me playing a 3 of a kind. I think I did Rain Razors, 3 of a kind, and he's like, okay, I would like to respond to that before you draw. And I'm like, all right, here we go.
Yeah, here we go.
And I died.
Spin your wheels, Mr. Wizard Man.
Yep. And then my one other match that I lost was in Tarek Patel's team to Saint piloting Briar. And that was just a straight race. It was close. It was close. He got me with a really scary Snatch for 11 with Go Again and Plunder Run ability on the stack. So if it hit, he would draw 2 cards and have Go Again, and it was coming in for 11. And I'm Lexi, who, Rangers are very known for blocking well, so I had that in the bag. It was an unfortunate situation, too, because he was at a pretty low life, and I was at, like 13 or something. But
was it Mount Heroic, Briar, or was it a Lightning?
He never got to play Mount Heroic. I think it was probably Mount Heroic, Briar. Yeah. It was just a straight race, and he ended up getting there in the end. But still fun, like absolutely fun event. We went 3-3 overall, I absolutely love it, and I would be very, very keen to do more team blitz events. They are so much fun, or just team events in general. Oh, like team limited would be amazing. I am a huge fan of limited in any card game, especially in Flesh and Blood. We'll talk about limited shortly because this has been like so much fun the past like 2 weekends. Because like I said, I love limited, and I finally have like got the chance to really stretch my limited wings. And a limited team event would be amazing.
Maybe in the future, the Living Legends podcast will partake in a transnational battle.
That would be awesome.
But, like, that would actually be super sick.
Dude, that would be awesome. Count me in, 100%.
All just wearing our respective national flags as capes.
Nah, we gotta get shirts made, like team shirts.
We do.
That would be rad.
Yeah.
That would be so good.
That'd be so imposing for people who like don't know who we are. We just squat up. We're all like matching. That'd be super funny.
Transverse from different corners of the world to partake in one singular team event, and they're just like, "What is going on here?"
Yeah.
It's like Avengers Endgame, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Little did they know that Az is rubbish.
No, you're not rubbish.
But yes, go. Speaking of the pre-release event, I had a comment on one of the Twitter posts from Marcus Artist. This is at MB Art Base.
Yeah. I actually met him at the world premiere event. He was cosplaying as Bravo.
Right.
Really nice dude. Yeah.
So he just said the weekend was fantastic. Sealed event was massive, but didn't suffer for it. I was also in my Bravo cosplay nearly the entire weekend, and Kel got to hold my Anathos, which sounds dirty.
Very well made and sturdy Anathos.
Nice.
Still sounds dirty, Kel.
Yep. No,
very well made.
He was an awesome dude. We chatted for a little bit. That's one of my favorite parts about these events is like meeting all the community members and everyone. It's so much fun. And now that I've been to literally all of them in the U.S. since the previous Vegas -1, I think I didn't go to Indy. I think I skipped out on Indianapolis, or was it Cincinnati? One of those. I mix the cities up. I apologize. But I'm starting to see like a lot of familiar faces now. Like now that I'm going to these events, like I see the same people at these events. I see new people too, obviously, but it's awesome to see like the Flesh and Blood diehards, the big fans turn up to all these events. Like in the Uprising draft. So in Vegas, we had the Uprising world premiere event, which was sealed, and then we also had a draft as well. And in the draft, I got paired against my round one opponent was someone that I met a year ago in the previous Vegas event, who was sitting at my table while we built our sealed pools. So like, just that's just awesome to see like the Flesh and Blood community turn out to all of these events, and to see that it's got like such a loyal following already, only like 2.5 years into its lifespan. So that's so cool. Yeah,
that's one of the things that I just really appreciate about the community in general. Like, I mean, obviously I don't have the exact same hands-on experience that you do when it comes to actually seeing the community out and about and at these events, because I just haven't had the opportunity to go to any of them yet. I do intend to, so hopefully I'll actually be able to meet some people and just put faces to names sort of thing. But like even locally, we had basically the same turnout for both pre-release events that happened this weekend. There was one today and then one yesterday. And just everybody came out and was just super, super excited to play with the new cards and just like the set in general. There was this it was like this almost like this electricity in the air because people were so excited about just, outside of even just playing Flesh and Blood, like just seeing people that were all there for the same purpose. Like it's just really... It's nice. It's like a breath of fresh air that you can enjoy this hobby and not have to worry about, people not even trying to, but incidentally maybe ruining your day by being a little bit too weird about it. And this isn't a comment on any other card games that I've played, I promise. But...
wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
But yeah, like it's been such a busy weekend for me, right? Specifically, I mean, I'm sure everybody else too. But I had two pre-releases, one on Saturday, one on Sunday, and then after both of them, recording podcasts. Yesterday I recorded one with my boy Tommy Fresh, and then we're recording this one today. So I've been for like the 48 hours of this weekend, like probably a solid 35 of them have been playing or at least thinking about Flesh and Blood. And it's awesome. It feels really cool.
That's the way to do it. Yeah, so before we get into pre-release stuff, I'll quickly recap my Uprising experience at the world premiere event. I mean, to make it short, like it was a blast. It had the same sort of electricity that the world premiere event in Vegas last year had for Aria. It was just so much fun. I mean, for me personally, I played pretty well. My pools were pretty well too. I ended up going a total of, I think I said like 13-2 in limited over the weekend. I did 4-2 in the Uprising World Premiere event, only losing Icelander mirror matches. One of them to Yuki Lee Bender, and another one to another fantastic person named Arya. And they both had Arcane Barrier, and I did not have Arcane Barrier, and it was just like that little bit that really like pushed it over the edge. But great matches. Icelander is surprisingly amazing to me. Like I was like kind of low on her going into it, and then my pool, like my very first pack I opened up a cold foil legendary Coronet Peak, which is the ice headpiece, and I was like, I gotta try. And then I looked at my wizard pool, and I'm like, okay, it looks really solid. And turns out it was really solid. And yeah, Icelander, it slaps. We could talk about that in more detail later. And then we had a draft with some judges. So judges got booster boxes of Uprising as part of their payment. And so some judge friends asked me, Jim, and Steven if we wanted to partake in a draft with them. And we were like, yes, please. And it was just a casual draft. I ended up drafting Phi. My Phi deck was quite good. I went 2-0. We only had time for 2 rounds, but I ended up going 2-0 with that deck. And then we had the other official draft on the weekend. It was on Sunday, and I ended up going Icelander again. It was a 6-pick pivot into Icelander. I'm a fairly seasoned draft veteran. I've been drafting Magic since 1996 or 1995. Long time. I love draft. And I read the signals, and then the guy next to me, who was, I don't know how old he was, but less than 15, and he was so jazzed for dragons. He was like, oh, look at this dragon, it's so awesome, and he just windmill slammed the card. Like, he was not hiding anything. Like, he was a 200% in Dromai. And I started off drafting Draconic cards to stay open, and I was like, you know what? Based on all of the bomb Icelander cards that are getting past me, and based on the guy next to me just windmill slamming every single dragon that he sees, I'm like, I'm gonna pivot into Icelander, which ended up being the right call, and I ended up going 3-0 in that draft. And then I also did a Tales of Aria one that I went 4-0 with Briar, but who really cares about Tales of Aria right now? Yes, limited.
It's great to see. It's great to see that whoever that was to your left or right there, just getting so excited because he was getting all the dragons.
Yeah, and I was happy to pass them to him too. Like after I pivoted, I'm like, here you go, man. Like here's all the sweet dragons for you. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, it was like a childlike wonder. He was so stoked. Like, he was so happy for the dragons, so happy to be there. I can just imagine, like, me being that age. I was a little more...
Seeing all the dragon art for, like, the first time and stuff, you know, it just brings you back to when you first discovered TCGs, I imagine, for him or her doing that. So, yeah, that's just a tale of joy.
Yeah, it was awesome. He was very vocal too. He's like, "Oh, I got this." Like when he was passing to me, he'd be like, "Oh, I have this really sweet card in this pack. Should I take the Majestic or should I take this Dragon?" And he's like, "I'll save the Majestic for you." And then he passed it to me. I ended up not taking it. I think it was like a ninja card or something. But it was just it was fun. Like good times. And then I guess that leads me to pre-release weekend. I've talked a lot about my experiences so far. I can tell you about my pre-release, but first, let's hear about Bill's experience in pre-release. If you'd like to talk about that a bit, Bill.
Yeah. So in terms of actual like playing and my experience with the set in a limited capacity, I haven't been playing like I think as well as I possibly could. Maybe I've just never really been super good at limited or sealed or draft formats in really any game. Something about it just doesn't like super click with me. But obviously, I was just excited to get to open the packs a little bit earlier and go out and support my LGSs and stuff. But outside of that, like I think my record for the 2 pre-releases, I went 1-1-2.
Okay.
My first 2 matches went to time on my first one. And then today I went 0-2, and then I ended up dropping just to, I was okay. I had other stuff that I just had to do. But I mean, it was still a great time. First day I played Dromai, and second day I played Icelander. But I can't actually be all that upset about the pre-releases in general, because my first pack of Uprising from yesterday, first pack that I ever opened, had a Marvel Invoke Vincerikai.
Nice.
And then I think 2 or 3 packs later, I opened a Rainbow Foil Crown of Providence.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah, and then I think I had a couple other I had 2 other Majestics in that set of packs there. And then for today I opened 5 Majestics, 2 of which were foil.
Whoa, that's a lot of Majestics. Holy crap.
Yeah, I got 2 copies of Hypothermia. One of them was foil. I got a foil Semblance, and then I got a Phoenix Form and a Vipox.
Oh, nice.
So I ended up going with Icelander. I think the deck was actually good, but I definitely just like misplayed. I forgot that this is like moderately embarrassing, but I forgot that Icelander's ability only allows you to play the card in your arsenal as an instant if it's blue.
Oh, yes.
And I arsenaled a red 3 cost, I forget which one it was, and just was not able to actually get it out of my arsenal or do anything else. And so I ended up losing because of that. But yeah, all in all, the pre-releases were so much fun. Obviously, I'm really, really happy about the cards that I've pulled. They're putting me in a pretty good spot for starting my collection for this set, which, by the way, is going to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
There are so many Marvels. There's, the fact that you can get Rainbow and Cold Foil in the same set is nice. I like it for like an availability standpoint, but as a collector, I want all of the Cold Foil legendaries, and I think they're going to be pretty hard to come by.
Yes, I
normally.
think so.
So.
Yes.
But this weekend has just been like absolutely phenomenal. Had such a great time, and I'm really excited to start actually building constructed decks with these new heroes and these new cards. I think with the stuff that Icelander was given in this set, I think she now has like a pretty decent shot at being like kind of a menace in constructed formats.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's got entire new lines based on the waning moon weapon.
Yes.
And, she's got entire new lines based on that now, and I think I've heard some stuff going around about mooning you for 2 or something like that.
Oh yeah, that's that. I say that a lot. I say that a lot.
Yeah, I said that a lot today.
Moon you for 2, moon you for 3. Yep.
Oh man, I definitely underestimated Waning Moon before I got a chance to actually play it today. I was able to sequence it, so I was able to activate it every turn for the first, I think actually maybe every turn of the game that I had. So in the first 3 turns, I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh, because I was able to sequence this properly, and I was still able to arsenal after every turn.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I've actually hit you for 7 over 3 turns with this. Because I was able to activate it on my first turn, then on their turn, then on my second turn. And I was like, this actually does so much damage, and it's really hard to deal with.
Waning Moon is like it's so good. Like, I basically tailor my limited strategy around activating Waning Moon. Like, it's just that good.
Like, just a solid weapon, a lot more solid than I gave it credit for. And another card that I was very, very impressed by, actually, that I didn't get today, but I got 2 of yesterday. Strategic Planning.
Oh, yes.
One of the generic rares. I read it and I was like, it's fine. It's kind of like a remembrance type effect that like replaces itself, and that's like fine because it costs a resource and it's an action instead of being free in an instant. But I didn't realize that you were able to bottom a card from either player's graveyard.
Yes.
And I got in all of my matchups yesterday where I played against Fi, I got both of them like super early. And I got to take them off of their Phoenix Flames for like the entire game.
Yeah, that won me one of the rounds in my pre-release. I strategic planning turn 1 and bottomed their Phoenix Flame. And
the one they get from the start as well.
Yeah, you can do it just immediately. Just dunk it. Like it's and what's cool about
it's like a pretty big feel bad.
What's cool about strategic planning too is it also lets you draw a card at the beginning of the end phase. So you can like basically dump everything and then still be able to draw a card and then arsenal it because you draw it at the beginning of the end phase. So you can still you still have that opportunity to arsenal it. So it's a sweet card. I don't know how I like it in other classes, but in Icelander, I think it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I was just like again very impressed with it, just from a limited standpoint. I don't know if it's ever really going to make the cut in constructed again outside of Icelander or something similar. But yeah, I still was very impressed with that. I was also very impressed with Oasis Respite.
Oh god, that card is so clutch against me. I didn't really play it
to
much effect.
Really good,
but it was played against me a lot.
Yeah. Like I want to say that it's obviously powerful like as a sideboard card, but I think it lives in the same general like space as like Fate Foreseen and Sink Below. I think that it is like an actual legitimately good option for specific decks that will have resources available to use that sort of damage prevention. Because of the fact that it's flexible, it is any damage source, not just physical. So you can also use it as like really quick arcane barrier that also like sometimes gains you a life. So if the red one is actually kind of for 5, like it's a really cool card.
You can technically prevent damage from like Reckless Swing and Steel Blade Shunt. Yeah.
Yes, you can, which is also kind of crazy.
Yeah. That Oasis Respite in my pre-release, I was going up against a Dromai. I ended up winning in the end, but there were a couple turns where I was like, all right, you're basically dead unless you have like a red Oasis Respite. Because I'm like, okay, on my turn, play red Ice Bolt for 5. And he had no Arcane, or maybe he had Arcane Barrier 1. And he was at 4. So I was like, he can AB 1 and then take 4 and die. And I'm like, unless you have red Oasis Respite. And he's like, he had it. And like, he had it like, he had that. And then he played the one that had Ward 4 immediately on his turn.
Sand Cover. That's also a really good one.
No, the generic aura. What is it called?
The one that's like almost an item. It's Sigil of something or other. Sigil of Protection.
Yeah, it was quite annoying as Icelander. Like, but that's great. I actually think that's fantastic because it has the set in general has so much more interactivity compared to Aria. In regards to like arcane damage and just damage in general, between Arcane Barrier being at common on equipment, Quell, the Helios Miter as a token, plus the Oasis Respite and Sigil of Protection. There's like so much more interplay, and it's so much fun. Like
it's the formatting of the words, isn't it? It's saying prevent the next 2 damage that will be dealt, so that counts for all aspects of damage. So you don't have that issue like in Tales of Aria where we had no arcane barrier. In this set, even in these sort of common slots, you're getting the option to be able to prevent any damage from, and it gives you that flexibility, which I think is a good balancing tool that they might have missed on the last one.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, even all those are really good tech against Icelander, but some of them are just like really good in Icelander too. Specifically the blue Sigil of Protection, because it's a non-attack that you can play on your opponent's turn if it's in your arsenal. So when they're attacking you, I did this a few times. I'm like, they come in for like a Scar for a Scar with Goarin. I'm like, okay, cool. Before I declare blocks, I have a response. And then I just, instant speed Sigil of Protection them, and then follow it up with a Waning Moon, moon them for 3 to the face. And puts them in a really tricky situation where they're like, oh, do I want to eat the damage or do I want to try to prevent the damage? And it's so much fun.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I sort of realized when I was looking at Sigil of Protection. I was like, well, I mean, it's a very telegraphed way to prevent damage, and the way that ward is worded, even if you have something that has ward 4 and your opponent attacks you for 1 and triggers the ward, then that is essentially like they're getting rid of your 4 health for 1 damage, like kind of. But with Icelander being able to flash in the Sigil of Protection, you can like choose your point where you actually want that ward to happen, which is actually really powerful. And that's one of the things that the Draconic Illusionist instant Sand Cover that I thought you were mentioning before, like that card puts in a lot of work too.
Yes.
It's really strong for exactly that reason, that it's ward, so it can also protect against arcane damage, and it's an instant, so you can decide what it is exactly that you want to ward against. So it like ward as a keyword, and also quell. I will also say quell. I'm like impressed with both of them. I think they're both really fantastic options. And something that I would love to see LSS do more of, just like even if they're not printing, ways to block damage that are strictly better than what we currently have, giving us like different ways to do it, just having those choices available is 100% what I want them to do. And I want to see a lot more of it.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, it just feels good to be able to, it's like, oh, I can have my Iron Rot, which is like a free quell 1 kind of for one instance of physical damage. If you can start making comparisons like that, it's just a way to grow the game without power creeping it as much, I think, as long as they're careful about it.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I think quell is so good that in the pre-release, I only ended up with 2 pieces of equipment. I think the quell chest piece and then the token Helios Miter. And I really felt not having the extra pieces of equipment, like the quell pieces. Like there were multiple occasions where I was like, oh, if I just had, you feel this a lot when you're playing, right? It's like, oh, if I just had the extra 2 pieces of quell, like things would go so much differently. And I never really felt myself feeling that way for like Iron Rots in like Welcome to Wraith Limited. I was never like, oh, I wish I had an Iron Rot, but I definitely felt myself feeling like, oh, just one more piece of quell would have been so nice, because they're so good, especially against how wide the turns go in this format, which is quite wide.
Yeah, that was one of the...
Sorry, carry on.
Oh, no, you go ahead. I was going to talk about Phi.
That's right. I was just going to say, yeah, I mean... that's what I like about these new equipments as well, is it still gives you a different option. Like Iron Rot, doesn't cost a resource. You can just chuck it in front of a piece of physical damage, but the quell gives you that ability to pay the 1 to stop any source of damage. So I like what you said about not power creeping it, because it's preventing a different type of damage, but you do have to pitch for it still. You can't just chuck it in front of it like a piece of Iron Rot or something like that. So I do like that design space. They're not power creeping it. They're just giving you a different option, which is, I think, is a good point of what you said about power creep. They're just giving you a different option, different way to deal with it, rather than just making it strictly better, like a strictly better version.
Yeah, exactly. Like if they had printed quell, like if it was worded like Arcane Barrier and didn't have the self-sacrifice thing at the end of the turn, then yeah, I think quell would absolutely be power creeping. Basically, I mean, it would be creeping Arcane Barrier, just like
100%,
all of it essentially. So they were able to make Arcane Barrier that also protects against physical damage, but then it does have that downside of you can only do it this turn, which is a really elegant way to rein that power level in. But yeah, one of the things that I really do appreciate about quell is the same way that you can sort of leverage Arcane Barrier against Rune Blades, or like specifically Chain or Briar, where they're able to do multiple instances of arcane damage. The thing with quell, especially as Kel was saying, against like Phi and Dromai, they're able to put out, like I've seen people go up to 6 or 7 chain links in a turn.
Oh, easily, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's not particularly hard for them to do that, but if you have if you quell something and you still have 2 resources floating, you don't necessarily have to use all 3 of them on that first instance of damage. You can wait, and if there's something where you can only block 3 out of this 4 damage and it has an impactful on hit, then it's like, oh, well, I still have a resource floating, I can quell that. And it kind of makes you, it gives you more agency within your own turn and gives you more more elegant options, which is, again, I absolutely love the design space of Quell. I don't think the common Quell equipment are necessarily strong enough to see play, but the the quelling sleeves, like the ones that have no other text on them. But
I think
the
they
class
will
equipment,
in Commoner.
yes, yeah, that's a completely fair point. I think that they're a really strong choice for Commoner, actually.
Yeah.
But something that I was looking at was all of the talented equipment, the talented common equipment that also have Quell and also have instant speed abilities.
Yes.
Like those are so well designed. I actually can't get over how much I love the design of those. Because especially the illusionist one, you can actually get benefits from both of the sides of it, because you're able to just pop it to make an ash after you've used up the quell or something. You can, it's I don't know, it's just a really really nice design space that they've settled on for it, and every time I look at them, I actually get more impressed.
Yeah, I actually think this is their best designed set so far. Like, it's so well designed. From like we've been talking about Quell a lot, but Quell is like perfect for this set because not only do you have arcane damage, and the way Icelander plays, you're almost always doing 2 sources of arcane damage a turn if you're going to be doing arcane damage, unless you're kind of going all in on something big like an Ice Eternal. But all of the other classes, Dromai and Phi, really want to go wide, and Quell, like, this is just the perfect place to put Quell because it really incentivizes or really helps against those go wide strategies. And yeah, I think it's just super smart. Actually, while you were talking, Bill, I laid out all of the common equipment in the set to kind of take a look at it, and it's just so elegantly designed. You have like the 3 pieces of Quell, you have the token hat, so like 3 pieces of Quell and the token hat. You have the class equipment that all have Arcane Barrier. You have the, like you said, the class talented equipment that all have Quell and an instant speed. And then you have like the 2 pieces of just raw talented equipment. And just compared to other sets, it's just so, it just feels like you said, elegantly designed. And
Yeah.
I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah, I was already really impressed when I was watching all the cards get spoiled during spoiler season, but like when it's actually all in front of me at the same time and I get to actually play with the cards and feel how the mechanics actually work with each other, like, it was kind of hard for me to truly wrap my mind around what Dromai's playstyle was going to be like, where it's like, oh, do you always have an Ash available? Are you always going to be able to invoke a dragon? Like, how are you able to necessarily pay for that if you also want a bunch of reds so that you can trigger your like Dromai's Ash making ability? And I think it's fairly like clear to see how much effort was actually made into like just organizing the set in general and playtesting it. And like, it is really well made, and I think the heroes are actually like on pretty decent footing with each other. I don't think one necessarily jumps out to me as like the strongest one. Like with Arya, obviously, if you're doing sealed, Briar is just like the easiest. It is like the best hero, unless you get absolutely nutty Oldhim or Lexi pools. Like Briar is just the easiest one that also does a ridiculous amount of damage. But all 3 of them, like you're looking at your sealed pool and you're like, I can make an argument for all 3 of these. Like, it's just a really well done piece of art, honestly. I think Uprising is really artful, and all the stuff that they've done.
And that's a good segue into actually one of the questions that I got today, actually, from a post on Twitter I did. So this is from AOE Sammy from TCG Talk YouTube channel. So yeah, I put out questions out there just saying we're doing this podcast, pre-release experiences, what have they been like? So first of all, he says 2 pre-releases, 2 good pulls, and he says the picture was Weaver, so it was Olivia Gobert Hicks's spoiler card, the one that spews out dragons every turn or when it attacks, I think. By looking at
Yeah.
So got a marveled rarity, one of those. That looks lovely. And then they also got an Illuvian Costellus, the wizard legendary equipment, which is quite interesting.
Yes. I played against that at the pre-release. I think one of the mirror matches that I lost to had that one. It was good. It was good.
There's a lot of text on it, but a greater FAB mind can weave that Illuvian Costellus, but not me.
It's long story short, it basically has arcane barrier, and when it prevents arcane damage, it gets counters, and then you can use those counters to get free staff activations.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I really like it. Obviously, it's like a super narrow card, but I look at that and then I think of Kraken Aethervein. I'm like, oh man, like that's such a good. That's a really good like trade-off for me, is being like, yeah, you have to kind of build up to this, but then it gives you a free Aethervein activation, which is also maybe draw a card. Like, it's so cool.
That's what I mean. These like these weird legendary equipments open up some really strange lines that you could actually build around on, like, you know, stupid decks and stuff, which is what I like about it.
Yeah.
But so he going back onto the subject of like the decks and the mixture of characters and what you should play and all that sort of thing. He says Phi is 100% the easiest to build and do well with in sealed, but Icelander has the highest ceiling if you get the right blues. And then he goes on to say Dromai seems to be in a weird spot. It might be worth the discussion on why she seems a bit odd to build in sealed. So what do you think your thoughts are on that statement with regards to the heroes and which ones to pick?
So I agree with half of that. I do agree that Phi not only is the easiest to build, he's also like the most popular right off the bat. At my pre-release, I played against 4 Phis and 1 Dromai. I think it's just you're throwing 0-cost cards with Go Again at your opponent's face, and then you're getting them back from your bin, you know, the Phoenix Flames, and then playing them again. And that's kind of what you do for Phi, and it's pretty easy. Like you just slam, you know, Unga Bunga, slam in with your 0-cost Go Agains. I honestly think Dromai might have the highest ceiling.
Okay.
I really like Icelander, and I think Icelander overall might be the best in the format. It's hard to say, but Icelander like slaps like so hard. If you can force your opponent to break their quells early, and you just have free reign, you can calculate the kill. You're like, I'm going for it. Like I can kill like, you know, in 2 turns or whatever if I can just block it out. I think Dromai is very. I mean, I was gonna say card dependent, but all the heroes are obviously.
Pretty much.
But I feel that you need like a critical mass of like dragons and certain cards like Rake the Embers, which is the one that creates an ash and then turns 3 ash into Aether Ashwings for the red version. I think you need a critical mass of cards like that to make it good. But if you get them, I think Dromai might be the best because she can do both. Like she can go wide, and she can also go tall with those big, scary, like majestic dragons.
The one Bill pulled earlier.
Yeah.
Vinescarai, or whatever his name is, Viserai the dragon.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love that one, and Kel, I think you're absolutely right on the money with like I think Dromai potentially has the highest ceiling, but requires a lot more pieces to get there. Yeah, where you know, like especially in limited, it's tough to have that sort of that prospect of I want to build a Dromai deck if you don't also have, you know, a decent amount of the dragons. And even like my best, like out of the 2, yesterday's pool was definitely the best for Dromai, which is why I also played Dromai. But I also only had 4 dragons, and I think I only had 1 Rake the Ashes, or Rake the Embers.
Yeah.
So there were some games where I was actually able to do a bunch of stuff, but you know, if you stumble on being able to create enough ashes to do anything that you need to do, or you know, you have something set up but you're not able to give your wide board of dragons Go Again, so instead of attacking for 8 you're attacking for 1 or something like I think that Dromai, yeah, like there's a lot of setup that you can do, but even after you're done your setup, there are still like boxes that you have to check each turn in order to continue doing the thing that you've already set up to do.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like I think that gets absolutely ironed out in constructed formats. Because you're able to get 2 copies of each of the dragons that you want, and you're able to actually tune your ratios properly for however many reds you want to run. But yeah, in limited and sealed and draft specifically, I think if you get lucky, a well built and like good pulled Dromai deck, I think could absolutely steamroll both of the other heroes.
Yeah. I do want to mention one thing about Dromai too. Like she does have some inherent weaknesses by virtue of being an illusionist, because all of your dragons will have phantasm, and the one Dromai I played at the world premiere event, I just absolutely, I feel bad. I felt really bad. I absolutely dunked on him because he played a big dragon and attacked me, and I had the 6 attack in my hand to pop it immediately.
Yeah.
So I popped it, ended his turn, and then blasted him in the face for a bunch of arcane damage. And he just couldn't do anything. Yeah.
Yeah, that is absolutely one of the big things, because even if you do have that setup ready, if you don't have the silent stilettos, or I think that's the name of the shoes that
it is,
that
and
you got.
It costs 3 to activate too, and
it
you're
does
like
cost 3.
Yeah. Oh, but
it does hurt a lot. That's one of the things I was mentioning again in the other podcast when I was doing the set review is there are a lot of things that Dromai can do that feel really efficient on their face, but having your stuff popped via phantasm, if you're able to regain your footing after that, then you can probably be fine. But I think that is like a less likely situation, which is what might bring Dromai some pretty polarizing matchups in constructed formats, especially because I think right now the talk of the town is that Oldhim is going to be very popular, just in general. So playing Dromai into a Guardian where all of their stuff has 6 power, I think even a lot of people have been saying Reinar is a good value proposition as well. So going into Guardians or Brutes with your deck where all of your stuff has Phantasm, and if one of them gets popped, then your turn prematurely ends most of the time. It can feel pretty rough. But I think in every other matchup where you don't have access to that easy pop for Phantasm, I think that Dromai can be pretty demoralizing to play against sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So curious, overall, I know you haven't had a chance to play as, but
not yet.
What are your what's your favorite hero so far of the 3? Like even if it's just kind of like a rudimentary thing for you, as since you haven't had a chance to play it, but just like on paper, what's your favorite hero? And I think we'll start with Az, unless you need time to talk, but. Time to think, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had the chance to play of any of the cards or understand, what cards to play and anything like that yet. But I think going off of what I've seen and obviously all the sort of stuff I've read and that, I would have to say Dromai would probably be my favourite to play, just because of the sick art and all the awesome dragons that you can conjure up. Yeah, I think just generally just looking at all the cards, I think that'll be my sort of play style out of the 3 heroes represented. So I would have to pick the dragon mummy here.
Nice. How about you, Bill?
I think we're gonna have an even split here against all odds, because the hero that I'm most excited for 100% is Fi. Which coincidentally. Yeah, also the only hero that I haven't gotten a chance to play in pre-release. I played Dromai and Icelander. But I think like the second that we found out that Phoenix Flames are going to be essentially this like fuel for the engine for the deck, and the fact that you can go so wide, and I've been pretty lucky and pulled 2 Phoenix forms already.
Nice.
But I really, really want to see what this deck can do, especially in constructed. I feel like Phoenix Flame just inherently lends itself, especially like a really heavy, like you're actually all in on the Phoenix Flame strategy, where you want to get them out as quickly as possible, and you want to utilize them as many times a turn as you can. I think that Mask of Momentum is like kind of gross when you're able to just continuously put in. You're like, these Phoenix Flames only attack for one, but that doesn't matter. It's a chain link, and if they let too many things through, then I also get to draw cards. So. Yeah, I absolutely love everything about Fi. And obviously I don't want to make any assumptions for you, but Kel, I think you have mentioned once or twice that you were very surprised by Icelander. Is that your pick?
So, okay, it's complicated. I'm going to say no. I think Dromai is my favorite, but it's kind of...
Dromai friends.
Yeah, I have a similar story to Bill in that I've played 4 limited events, and I've yet to play Dromai. I played Icelander 3 times and Fi once, and I just really want to play Dromai. I like the style. I like, I think I like the gameplay. I built a little sort of commoner deck that I'm going to play with DM Armada, because I just want to play. We're doing a Uprising commoner, but with rares, basically, just to bide our time until the set actually comes out here. But I really, really like Icelander in Limited. She's kind of like my go-to in Limited so far. I feel very comfortable now playing Icelander in Limited. So in Limited, I'm going to lean towards Icelander, but in everything else, I just want to play Dromai. Like, that's the first deck I'm going to build. I'm going to build a UPF Dromai deck. It's literally the first thing I'm doing after I get my boxes and open them all up. I'm building Dromai UPF.
Yeah. Stay tuned for that, because that's what you're playing in the next episode. You're playing Dromai, so stay tuned for that, people.
Yeah, spoilers. I'm going to be playing Dromai, and I'm super excited to do that.
And I mean, I am going to be playing Fi.
Yeah.
But we figured that out like even before I figured out how much I love Fi.
Yeah.
This has been in the works for a while. Spoilers, but
but I also want to say that I actually really like all 3 heroes, like, a lot. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I like all of the Flesh and Blood heroes so far. I don't think there's a single hero that I'm just like, no, I hate them. But maybe there's one that I don't like very much. Not in terms of design, in terms of gameplay, and that's Oldhim. Oldhim is the grindy, take 2 hours to play your game or just go to time guy, and that's just not the kind of card game player I am. I don't want to go to time. I want to punch face as hard as I can, as fast as I can. Or do some tricky, cool stuff, and not just like block, hammer you for 4, block, like Oldhim does. But what I'm saying is I really like all 3 of the heroes in this set, and I really want to build decks for all 3 of them. Whereas for Arya, I really only wanted to build decks for Lexi and Briar, mostly Lexi, but Lexi and Briar. And then Oldhim, I'm like, nah. I'll pass. I don't want to do that. So in terms of the heroes for the set, I think it's a huge win. Even though we saw Icelander already in Everfest, I think this set really, really fleshes her out and makes her like more than just kind of like a little gimmick hero that appeared in a supplemental set. I think she's like, her own entity now. And I also think all 3 heroes are viable to some degree in various formats. I think they'll all see play across multiple formats, whether it's Classic Constructed, Blitz, Commoner, or UPF. I think they'll be fans of every single one of these heroes. I think the heroes, great job, LSS, basically.
What you was going on to say there about the formats, I mean, I can't wait to see how these decks do, like in constructed play, in whether that's Blitz or CC. It's going to be interesting to see how they do hold up against everything else at the moment, and it's going to be a little bit of a shake-up as well, I think, which is going to be nice to see how other the sort of legacy heroes deal with it.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be interesting. I've talked to a lot of folks and pro players, and Bill mentioned that a lot of folks are looking at Oldhim. I've also talked to a lot of folks who are looking at Katsu now, actually, with the new Tiger Stripe Shuko Legendary and some other fun stuff like Double Strike. They think Katsu's got some tools to go over the top of some of the defensive builds, or go wide enough to get past their defenses. So
I really like Tiger Stripe Shuko, just to like interject. But I think there were I think I saw, who was it? I think it was Dalen Mack on Twitter was talking about how he was doing testing with Uprising stuff. And he was like, yeah, I think Fi is like maybe the strongest deck that has ever been created. And then he was like, and then one of my teammates told me that blocking doesn't count as damage prevention.
Oh yeah.
So he was operating under the assumption that like Tiger Stripe Shuko made your second thing also unblockable.
Oh yeah. I mean, that'd be good. That'd be good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that'd be really, really strong. But even outside of that, like over the course of a game, if you're able to trigger it every turn, like that one piece of equipment can add like 5, 6, 7 damage.
That's right.
Which for a piece of equipment that starts in play is like really good. Like that's a lot of damage.
The freaking card turns your hero into Ira, right?
Into Ira. I was actually just thinking about that. Yeah.
It turns Katsu into Ira. Like what the hell? It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that one.
Or it turns Ira into Ira.
I mean, that's true. Double. You get
Ira squared.
Yeah.
I mean that is true, huh? So if Ira was attacking,
your Zephyr Needle attack for 4.
Yeah, I was gonna say it pumps a 2 into 4, which is gross. Wait, is Ira just gonna be like disgusting and blitz now? Like what the hell?
Here we go.
Like, oh, that's awesome.
All the ninjas are coming to the front now, aren't they? You know, we got that Vipox as well, which Benji loves as well.
Yes.
I pulled one of those. I didn't really talk about my pre-release all that much. I pulled a Vipox at the pre-release. I ended up not playing it because I played Icelander, and I think Vipox is like kind of unplayable in Icelander, but
for sure.
But I pulled it. I'm like, oh, this card is sick, dude. I really dig it. Yeah,
I love the flavor text
super
as well.
Cool card.
I would have said,
only fools resort to force.
The spider.
The Spider, who's from the pits, I think. As well.
He's got like this Oni mask.
Yeah. I actually wanted to bring something up just that I think is interesting. It's totally speculative, and I can't take credit for one of these two theories because again, this came up when I was talking to Tommy Fresh yesterday. But his theory was that the specifically Frightmare and Ghostly Touch, the illusionist gloves, are he's like, I think that this is hinting at a different illusionist because we have the red pitch illusionist, which is Dromai, and the yellow pitch illusionist, which is Prism. So he's like, maybe there's going to be like a spooky blue pitch illusionist that has some sort of effect that's like, that makes your opponent's blocking cards have 6 attack to trigger your Phantasm, and then you get like extra benefits out of it or something, something similar to sort of make Ghostly Touch make a little more sense. So he's like, maybe these aren't for a hero that exists now, but for the future. And I saw something similar today, I think on Reddit, somebody talking about Vipox, and they figured that maybe that's sort of the same thing, where this isn't for a hero that exists quite yet, but maybe is an illusion or like a foreshadowing for an assassin hero coming soon.
I got a lot of tags and mentions about Vipox in regards to assassins.
And I think that holds a lot of water to me. Like that makes sense.
I mean, Vipox just like slaps in Benji though too, right?
Oh, absolutely. It makes it so hard to block, and your opponent isn't getting rid of cards from their hand anyway. So it is mostly just a 0 for 5.
It's a 0 for 5, and it kind of forces them to block with their equipment unless they it kind of forces them to in a tricky situation where they're either block their equipment and then not able to block the Spring Tidings later, or they just eat 5 for 0.
Like it's a really interesting card. But yeah, that was one of the things that I was like, maybe we might be getting another illusionist and maybe an assassins.
So the illusionist, I like that theory actually a lot because I do know Flesh and Blood, they really like to set up for future stuff. I mean, we saw it already in Crucible of War with coppers, right? So we saw coppers, but we didn't see any silvers. And we still haven't seen gold yet, but I mean, like, it's clear that they're willing to put stuff in sets that just hint at future things. And I think that's a good theory. I'm not sold on the self-destroying Phantasm theory, but I definitely think we'll see an illusionist very soon. And I think it'll be that the one we've seen before, who's got like the silver hair. She's got like the silver hair. She kind of looks like Storm.
Or the one on
Yeah,
like, the Shimmers of Silver art.
And
Yeah,
Spears of
or
Surreality and
Fractured Replication.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
I love that character so much. I bought a print. I have a
super
print
cool.
of the Spears of Surreality, and the artist Emanuela Crovius, who did that art. Once again, I love the art so much. She's actually doing my next splash art for my channel. So,
Nice.
yeah. So I'm a huge fan of that character. So whenever they come out, I'm gonna be like super stoked. And also
definitely a good theory because on Ghostly Touch, Silent Stilettos, and Frightmare, they all care about the number 3 as well, which obviously equates to the blue pitch, and obviously the art of just the generic illusionist cards, all these blue sort of purple hues going on. So that definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a good theory.
I wonder if they'll save it for a future set and have her talented, kind of like how the other 2 are, or make her generic. I know a lot of folks want a generic one, but
yeah, but like she could be a dark illusionist or a shadow illusionist rather. Like that could be interesting if we're going back to the Demonastery. But again, this is complete speculation.
I was actually thinking about it last night, where I think the next 3 big sets are going to be, and I think I've kind of like I may have sussed it out a little bit. Hold on, let me go make sure my dog's not barking.
That's fine.
It's okay.
I think they're gonna. I think they're also gonna like similar to how Magic used to be. I think they might be doing sort of. I think they might be doing like these blocks because I know obviously James mentioned that the next set's Dynasty, and it's a continuation of Uprising to a degree. So are they going to be doing that same sort of template? Because MTG used to have the blocks, didn't they? Where they used to have two or three sets that all related to each other.
Yeah, they would have the original, at least when they had the block structure, was 2 like or it was 2 big sets and then a small set that were all in the same locale. So you had like the Return to Ravnica was like Return to Ravnica, Gate Crash, and Dragon's Maze. And that ended up not working out for them in total because they were like, well, we started to run out of ideas by the 3rd set. But I think for what Flesh and Blood is doing currently, they're sort of already like semi in that structure anyway, where they have 2 big sets and then a supplemental set. Yeah. But if they do make them the 2 big sets related to each other, that's fine. Or if they don't, like they have been, where we went like Monarch and then Tales of Aria and then a supplemental set, I think that works too. But I think that if that is what they're planning to do, I think it is. They've already set themselves up for success. Like it is working out really well, where we have these supplemental sets at the end of the block that sort of provides additional support for the heroes that we saw, in addition to some other heroes and stuff, and just sort of like ties it up a little bit with a bow.
Yeah.
And it's like, here's a send off, and now we can move somewhere else.
I would like to interject and say that James has confirmed that we are no longer doing 2 big sets and a small set. It is now big set, small set, big set, small set, big set, small set.
Oh, but I liked that.
Yeah, so
I just went on about how much I liked it.
Yeah, I wanted to butt in, but I was like, no, I'll let you. You seem so so stoked for it. So starting now, so the next set is going to be a supplementary set. It's going to be supplemental set. We already know the name. It was spoiled in the most recent interview with Flake. The set is called Dynasty, and it is going to be.
And so that's going to be like Crucible of War and Everfest.
Yes,
sort of, that sort of flavor.
Right.
And James is kind of like rebranding them. They're not called supplemental set anymore. I think he's calling them expansion sets.
Okay.
I think that's my. Don't quote me on that. I will have to go look at the FAB 2.0 release again. But in there, he says what they're called now.
No, I could see that. Like have the big ones be like base sets and then expansion sets or whatever for the base set that came out.
And
that sort of setup.
Yeah, it was my speculation that it would be exactly that. It would be exactly like Aria and Everfest, where like the expansion set kind of expands upon the previous set in terms of like location and flavor and all that kind of stuff. Not necessarily mechanics, because we didn't see a lot of elemental stuff in Everfest. because one of the big conceits of having expansion sets every other set is that they are doing this to give more support to every class on a regular basis to keep constructed formats feeling fresh. So that's the upside of it. The downside of it is you don't have as many limited formats, which is, for me, I talked earlier, I love limited, so it's kind of a bummer in that regard, but I totally understand for the health of the constructed game why they're doing this.
Yeah, honestly, I still like that structure a lot too. Like it even cuts down more on the problem that I mentioned that Magic had, where instead of staying in the same place for 3 sets in a row, and you kind of run out of road, like narrative road. For this, at least, we won't have another situation like with Mechanologist, or before this set, Ninja, where they got printed, like Ninja got printed in the first set and then didn't really get anything outside of the expansion sets.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people, I think, kind of felt not necessarily slighted by, but the people who really loved Ninja were like, well, where are all of our cool cards? You've printed 3 Rune Blades in the time it's taken us to get anything.
That leads me to my prediction for the next 2, or next 3, actually, big sets, which I was going to say before my dog started freaking out. And that is, I would bet a lot of money that the next set we go to features the class, the next big set, by the way, we go to features the only other class we have not seen in a second big set, and that is Mechanologist. And I would wager that we go to Metrics next. Probably a Metrics Pits split, but it could just be all Metrics, and they could save Pits for its own expansion. Both of them, I think, are possibilities, but I really, really think Metrics and then possibly Pits will be the next one. And then I was also thinking, okay, then, where would they go after that for big sets? What needs support class-wise, and where would we go in terms of like unique locations and getting all of the talents out? And then I figured if they do Metrics Pits, the likeliest one after that would be Savage Lands to give Brute some more support. So we'll get Brute back in there because it wouldn't have had main set support since Monarch. And then finally we go to Mysteria, where we know there are ninjas there, and we currently already have a brand new ninja, so it makes sense to hold off on ninja for a couple of sets. So those are my big set predictions going forward. Metrics Pits, then Savage Lands, then Mysteria.
That sounds pretty solid to me. Like, just from a logical standpoint, especially, I think that if we don't go to Metrics next and get like a main set that has Mechanologist stuff, I think people are maybe going to start complaining because they're now the only hero that hasn't gotten a second thing.
I think there are clues that we're going there next. So one of the big clues was at the Pro Tour, the giant check that they gave to Pablo Pintor for winning is from Metrics, and it's like from Teklo Industries and that kind of stuff. I think they're dropping little hints here and there that we're going to be going to Metrics next. I think it's
really sweet.
I think it's a very, very likely chance. So much so that I'm going to make a whole video on this, but anyone who's watching this or listening to this now, you should probably buy your Mechanologist stuff while it's cheap. Like, if you don't have a Teklo Foundry heart and you ever had any interest in playing Mechanologist, you should probably buy one when they're like $60 to $80. Like, because the hype is going to drive that crap up just like it did for Masker Momentum. Like, 100%.
Even like most of the Mechanologist Majestics right now, I think maybe save for Teklo Core and High Octane. I think basically every other Mechanologist like Majestic is like $5 or less. Like you can get basically a full set of Mechanologist stuff for really cheap. So I think I might echo Kel on that one. If you're interested in playing Mechanologist in the future, make sure you got all your stuff.
You should also definitely get your High Octanes too, because that card seems really good.
I think it only gets better too.
So that's my.
I'm just going to interject and just say, Andrew, if you're listening to this, I want my Mechanologist cards back, please. Thank you. Match them up.
I also really like what they're doing in terms of like big set, small set in regards to continuing the story, because apparently James talked about it a little bit, but Dynasty is going to be continuing the story of Uprising in a way that they haven't done before. I don't know exactly what that means, but it makes me really excited for possibilities of the story and the lore of Flesh and Blood in the future. I guess maybe we'll find out who wins the rebellion, because currently in Uprising it's all about a rebellion. Fi and Dromai and Icelander's kind of just wandering about doing her own thing, but it's mostly about Fi.
Icelander's also there.
Yeah, I'm here too, guys. But yeah, I think it's gonna be really, really interesting. A lot of folks are already thinking about like, Kano's gonna be, there's gonna be like a new fancy Kano, and then I jokingly said Kano, Emperor of Volcor, and I'm like, that's definitely a possibility. I think like
James White is like, damn it, Kel.
Yeah. Or maybe like we can see another Kasai. We could see lots of cool stuff. So I'm really excited for more Flesh and Blood, even though we still have this feast of Uprising upon our plates. Well, it's not even on our plates yet, right? It's still in delivery, right?
Pretty much.
They're still DoorDashing it to us.
But yeah, I mean, this set hasn't even officially come out yet, and we're like, where are they going next?
It's fun to think and talk about, I think.
Absolutely. There's so much stuff to speculate about right now, and it's so much fun.
It doesn't stop, does it? The hype train just keeps on going.
Exactly. No brakes on that train.
I do like how Flesh and Blood, and once again, I don't want to compare this to any other card games, but I think people will draw their conclusions here. But I like how we do have at least a little bit of breathing room between sets. We've got 3-4 months, so you do have time to explore and experience the sets and really appreciate them. And the biggest bummer is going to be in terms of limited, because by the time the next limited set comes out, it's going to be like 8 months, between limited formats, which is a lot. Hopefully in the future, LSS, and I know that they said they're going to be doing PvE next year. So PvE mid next year was the earliest, I think they said. Hopefully that kind of experience will help, make things a little bit more exciting in between some, big sets. But I'm really stoked for all of the things. I'm really stoked for all of the things. And if it wasn't obvious, I really think Uprising Limited is their best limited format so far. And I really just want to play more. Like I don't have a lot of time to make it out to events, but I'm really gonna try to make it to more limited, especially draft events. I had a ton of fun drafting, and I really want to do more drafts. Recommend it. Highly recommend it. Is there any final words that you guys would like to say? Oh, actually, I do have one thing I want to mention.
Oh, go for it.
There was one card that I thought was stone unplayable when I saw it. I'm like, this card looks like absolute trash. And it's actually not. It's actually not. Only an Icelander, but it is Healing Balm. So Healing Balm is a 0-cost generic action that blocks for 2, and it just says gain 1 life for the blue pitch version, and then 2 and 3 for the red and yellow. And I'm like, yeah, that's stone unplayable. Like, it's like a sigil that can block, and it doesn't have go again or anything. Actually, in Icelander, it's like very good and limited, because it's a non-attack, and you need to play a non-attack before you can activate your Waning Moon. So just playing a Healing Bomb, gaining whatever amount of life, and then mooning your opponent is like a legit turn. Like, you still apply a lot of pressure. You can gain a little bit of life. If it's the blue version, you can play it on your opponent's turn from your arsenal. I really like the blue version in particular. The other ones, I'm not sure if I would play them in my decks if I had better things, but just 0-cost non-attack into Waning Moon is like pretty good in Icelander, I find.
Yeah. Being able to reliably activate your Waning Moon on your opponent's turn, even if the thing that kicks it off is just, gain 1 life. I mean, it's still a free card. Like,
yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm right there with you. That it performed slightly better than I anticipated it. I definitely looked at it at first and I was like, this is just a sigil of solace that is not an instant.
Yeah.
So I don't like it.
Yep. I literally saw it and I'm like, unplayable, push it to the side, like didn't even think about it any more than that. I'm like, this terrible card. Actually, an Icelander, it's not that bad. Not the best card, but it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's like a solid 25 plus if you're looking for extra cards to round out your suite. Like, it's not the first thing that you'd pick, but you probably wouldn't feel too bad about it if it got past you at the end of a pack. You're like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, that was my my final thoughts currently on Uprising. I just want to play more. My final thoughts was Healing Balm.
Well, this is actually a good segue actually into something I want to mention.
Yeah,
that's the fact that Ultimate Pit Fight 3 is coming out on Wednesday, I believe.
Yes,
Monday.
Or is it Wednesday or Monday?
I thought we're doing the.
Or was it tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it's tomorrow. Yeah. I think.
Right. Also, no, sorry. This is coming out on Wednesday. This podcast.
But it's even better for the viewers because it's already out, and you can already go to youtube.com/GoAgainGaming. Is that what yours is as?
That's something like that. Yeah.
And then you can watch it, right now.
You can watch it, and and just going on the Healing Balm. This is life gain, and there's a lot of life gain in this game.
Right. This is the Sunkiss game. Okay.
It's a sweet game. Like, not gonna lie, Az's deck is like pops off, and it's very, very cool.
I think we all like separately lost our minds when it started doing its thing. We were all just like so impressed.
Yeah. Steven nearly threw up during the game. He was like,
it was so cool.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean it's definitely worth. Obviously this episode will be the Ultimate Pit Fight will be out before this comes out. So if you're listening to this and you haven't watched it, then go and watch it on my channel, Red Zone Rogue's channel, or DM Amada's channel, wherever you wanna go. But it is a fantastic game.
Yeah. While you're at it, go subscribe to Az's channel. He does all the editing for these videos, and there's more content like that on his channel. So go subscribe to his channel. Why are you listening to this and not subscribed to Az? Go do that. Go do that.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah.
Go do that now. Yeah.
Do it now.
Do it now.
Exactly.
Oh, that's on there as well. Fantastic. Go and watch that video. Do it now.
Oh, it's good. It's real good. So with that said, I think we do have time this week for an Arsenal. I think I have one, unless you guys have had one. I've talked a lot today, so if you have an Arsenal, you may have my Arsenal for this week if you'd like.
I may have your what now?
My Arsenal.
Well, that's a tempting offer. So I've got a little thing. It is Flesh and Blood related, but I thought it was really cool. So Bill, if you have anything, you had the coffee thing last time, but yeah, we'll see what happens. I'll mention this anyway. So I saw on Twitter, obviously I will spend a lot of time on there at the moment. Saw a Twitter called Table Game Cafe Shuffle, which is a Japanese game store.
Oh yeah.
And I thought, I need to retweet this. So it was a Japanese event. So Flesh and Blood has penetrated Japan finally, which is fantastic. And I just love the advert because it's just so Japanese. It's fantastic. It's got English on it, and Japanese English is fantastic. Absolutely brilliant marketing. So it says, from New Zealand, here comes the world's greatest TCG. So already the world's greatest TCG in the eyes of Japan. Fantastic. And it says, Flesh and Blood. Its characterized speedy gameplay and beautiful art fascinate you. Don't know the rules? No worries. You get to know them all for free. I just thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, dude. Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Really happy to hear that.
Yeah. I also saw that tweet and I was like, you know what? This is amazing. Like, it really is like, expanding out to all these places. Hopefully distribution is able to, get a steady stream of product into Japan, because that'd be awesome. you know.
Yeah, well, they make it over there. They've made some of the cards over there, haven't they? So I'm assuming.
Oh yeah.
Probably...
One of the Cardamundi
true.
facilities is over in Japan. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know.
Hopefully, we see more.
Yeah, I mean, I cover a lot of Japanese and Japanese-inspired card games. My second YouTube channel is We Cross Zone is literally all dedicated to Japanese card games, and I know they have a big scene. There's a big card playing scene in Japan. So getting Flesh and Blood over there is awesome. So
yeah,
it's a big step potentially.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, just thought I'd shout that out. So I thought that's sort of made my day yesterday, seeing that. Not yesterday, day before. So I was just like, yes, this game is really sort of penetrating all areas now. So, and I want to go there one day. This could be Arsenal step still, but I want to go to Japan one day. It's just one of those places that just looks absolutely captivating to go. And you can get whatever experience you want out of there. If you want to go mega city, sort of neon synthwave vibe, you can get that. Or if you want to go out into the country, experience Mount Fuji and do all this sort of other stuff, you can. It's just one of those places that I'd love to go in the future. Definitely.
Go to Hokkaido in the winter and get stuck in a blizzard.
Yeah.
Japan
absolute
is
hypothermia. As loses go again for the rest of the week.
Yep. Japan's definitely on my bucket list too. I would love to go to Japan.
Same here.
Yeah. Do a little bit of the touristy stuff, but a lot of the not touristy stuff too. Like I mentioned Hokkaido, which is not one of the main ones that people want to go to, but I want to go to Hokkaido and Sapporo and all those places, man.
Yeah.
Someday, hopefully.
Yeah. That's what I mean. You can go on a bullet train. You can go to the tropical part, or you can go to the ski resort part. Just that the whole island of Japan just has everything you could possibly imagine, really. So it's just really unique. So.
Yeah. Definitely got to experience Akihabara and all that awesome stuff. Yeah. Now we're just talking about Japan.
That's it. Yeah. Well, there we are.
Yeah. Anything else, gentlemen, for this week? I know next week we'll try to maintain a more regular schedule. I'm not going to be traveling to events likely until Worlds, hopefully later this year. I don't know if either of you gentlemen will be able to make it to Worlds, but that would be awesome.
It's November, isn't it?
I think that's what James said. It's around there. Yeah.
The information around the large events does unfortunately leave a little bit to be desired, but that's one of the growing pains. Of having the large events anyway. So
that was a question that was answered in the most recent interview that was like 2 days ago or whatever. So no fault of anyone if you haven't listened to it yet, but they said that's something that they know and they're going to be trying to work on to give good. More advance notice for events. And Flake asked about Worlds in particular, and James said they don't know exactly when, but November is their target time. And it's going to be in the United States. So we know November in the US. Other than that, we don't really know other details, but I know that I'm going to go even if they don't ask me to do coverage, because it's the world event and it's probably going to be amazing because the Pro Tour was amazing, and I can imagine that they're just going to want to make it even better than that. So I think it'll be an event to go to, even if you don't have if you're not competing in the world event, or if you're working it or whatever.
I mean, if it is in November, that's probably enough time for me to potentially work something out. Maybe cool. I'll have to start looking into that.
Yeah. Look at the logistics. For me, it's difficult because I've already committed to go to Lille. So that's pretty much my trip for the year, because I've used all my holiday, because I have a normal job, unfortunately. So I've used all my sort of holiday allowance, in the early starts of the year, or if not within the next few months. But next year, 100% will be coming to the United States / North America, Canada to do something. Man. So
looking forward to it, man. That'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
With that said,
I think
I think that'll about do it for us for this week. I guess we'll go do the roundtable thing and have everyone shill their stuff. Let's start with you, Az.
Cool, yeah. So I'm Az from Go Again Gaming. You can find me on YouTube and Twitter at Go Again Gaming AZ. So yeah, go and check out all those stuff for me, please. That would be fantastic.
Yeah. How about you, Bill?
I am Bill from the Spike Feeders. You can find me on Twitter at BillTSF. We have the Spike Feeders have a channel mostly for Magic stuff. We also do have a secondary channel for Flesh and Blood. That is Spike Feeders FAB. Obviously, I'm also part of the Living Legends podcast here, and I also do want to shout out because it just happened yesterday. I think this episode will come out before the episode that I filmed with Tommy Fresh, but I did feature on an Uprising set review with Tommy Fresh of Fresh and Buds. So please feel free to check that out. He is an absolutely fantastic guy. He's an absolute pleasure to talk to. And that made the fact that our review went on for, I believe, just over 4 hours.
It seems to be the case.
Yeah, it was a really long one, but I mean, we had just a blast talking through the cards. It did not feel like 4 hours. So yeah, please feel free to check out that episode, and also check out Tommy Fresh of Fresh and Buds. He's a good friend of my own and the channel, I assume.
Yeah, Tommy's a great guy. I had dinner with him in Vegas.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely go check out his stuff. For me, my name is Kel, also known as Red Zone Rogue. You can find me at Red Zone Rogue everywhere, YouTube, Twitter. I used to mostly just YouTube and Twitter, but also I'm on Facebook and Instagram and all of that good stuff. I would like to thank everyone for joining us today for this episode. We'll come back sometime next week for another episode of the Living Legends podcast, talking about all that's going on in the world of Flesh and Blood. We'll think of something interesting for next one because we have a little bit of a lull period before Uprising comes out. But
well, that's what this podcast is about. It's about just doing just talking all aspects of Flesh and Blood and what we're doing.
Just
every
a
week.
recap.
Yeah. You can rest assured that it'll be interesting at the very least. So stay tuned for that. And thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks so much, everyone.
Peace.